positive, something that's uplifting people, empowering people. Hi, everybody. We are back with another episode. I'm your girl, Natalie, and today I have friend Jez with us.
Friend Jez.
You guys should be very used to him by now because he is just every episode. No, but I love it. I feel like we have such a good time every time we record, so thank you for coming. And we also have, Pastor Kareem Dorsey.
We'll rock with the pastor.
You
start doing the reverend.
I literally wanted to ask you, what is the difference?
Yeah, it's really, when I think of reverend, I think of my dad. Like, I associate reverend with somebody.
Okay.
That's my psychology.
Really? Okay, so it's not like a real, like there's no real
distinction.
Yeah.
Nah.
Okay. Because I'm like, oh, damn, did I offend him? Like,
you good.
Okay, good.
So what is the difference, though, between pastor and reverend?
None, really.
Well, if you want to go there, you can be a reverend and you can be referred to as reverend and technically not be what they call the lead pastor or the pastor of the church. But if you are the pastor of the church, typically you are associated with reverend, and also it also depends on what denomination you belong to as to whether or not they use the word reverend. I typically don't use the word because I associate with people who are older than
But
me.
do people call you reverend or they call you pastor?
Only one person refers to me as reverend, and that's Mike.
Okay.
That's why I call you.
Yeah. But I when I hear reverend, I cringe.
Really?
Wow.
Cringe is crazy.
I just,
Oh my
I
God.
tense up like, oh.
But is it,
God.
okay, no, let's get deeper now. I want to know why. Like, what is it that's, like, why are you being resistant to that word?
Because I associated with people who I grew up using that.
Okay, so then how do you view those people? You know what I mean?
Honorable, commendable.
Okay.
Yeah, those are big shoes to fill. So
You don't think you're feeling that? That's what I'm saying. There's a deeper reason
That's why we're
why.
getting on this. Now I get it.
Yeah, there's a deeper
You
reason.
don't think you feel those shoes yet? You are those shoes.
You are those shoes.
I appreciate that, but those are like forerunners.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What do you feel like you would need to do in order to...
Oh gosh, you just went a whole.
Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
I'm not trying to fill their shoes.
Okay.
I'm trying to be me and do what I do in my lane, you know, and go forward from there. I don't. They are, some of them, you know, are gone, and you know, they've gone on. So I'm not trying to fill their shoes. It's too much. And it's a different time. You know what I'm saying? It calls for a different strategies, different approaches. You know?
Yeah. And sometimes the strategies that you might take, they probably would look at it like, what are you doing?
Yeah, certain things, like they weren't podcasting.
Right. I was going to say. They weren't podcasting.
Yeah, they weren't podcasting.
They were not.
They definitely
But
weren't.
I feel like they kind of did their own version of it but just in person, like getting out there as much as possible, talking to as many people as possible. They just didn't have the cameras. There's something about us where we put it on camera and it just like is more accessible to more people.
I think they would have did this because
They would have done it.
because it's about reaching people.
Fair enough. I'm this generation. They were that generation.
I think the title you deserve the title. Man.
Yeah, I agree.
You're this generation's version of what you grew
And
up.
I feel like because
seeing
you're
as a resident.
doing like more and trying to be part of the culture and like what is like, I guess what people need to do now to spread a message, you're doing great. You're doing it.
Thank you.
You know, so big ups to you.
Definitely.
Of course. So I wanted to start straight up. Let's get into it.
I like it.
General question. If you think of God, right?
Okay.
Can
Which
you
I
give
do.
me, of course, we all do to some extent, right? How would you describe God in 3 words?
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Okay. That is the most, that's like the most obvious.
You only gave me 3 words,
No,
so I gotta go with it.
Okay, add 2 more.
Oh man. Love.
Mm.
Love, hands down. Love, and I would have to go with wisdom.
Okay.
I have to go with love, and I would have to go with wisdom.
Oh man, I like that.
Yeah.
I would say forgiving,
Wow.
dominant,
Okay.
and I want to say assertive, but not assertive. Just I don't know the word for this, so I have to use a whole sentence. I guess, gonna show you who's boss, but like in the most loving way possible. It's like really like a father who really loves his child.
That's cheating. You gave me 3 words.
I know, because I can't think of that word. I can't think of that word, but yeah.
She's looking for the word that describes
I don't know how that. I don't know how. Like maybe just I don't know. I don't know what that would. A father, right? Yeah. So father, forgiving, and disciplined, or did I say disciplined? No, dominant. There we go.
And I have to say 3 different words than you guys used.
Yeah, or
that's tough because everything you said, I would have said. Those are.
Said
No.
love and wisdom.
Not that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean I
Love
would
and
have said. I mean those are like it. The way you said them, you took the top 7. I mean 5 is what I meant, and then you took the next few. So it's like, what do I have left to say besides that? But the one thing that when I guess when I started searching and believing, the words "this is it" always, like this is it. It's like I was blind. I was blind my whole life. Wow. This is it. This is it. And it's like those are the 3 words that, for now, describe it the most impactful to me. This is it. When I woke up, I was like, oh my God, this is it.
This is it. Wow, that's a moment right there.
This is it. That's deep.
That's heavy, man.
That's heavy.
You know why? Because that's not textbook. That's not scripted. That's not anything anybody gave to you or taught you. That's your own personal journey. Like, I was searching, I was asleep, I was spiritually dead, and when I woke up and when I became spiritually alive, my reality was, this is what I have been looking for the whole time. This is it. That's it right there. Friend, that's heavy, man.
Yeah, that was good.
That's heavy right there.
You added a lot of words to it. I like that.
He added the words.
And it was 3 words. Oh,
Yeah.
That's crazy. That is actually 3 words.
That's really good. So I wanted to ask, like, for you, what was your first introduction to God? Do you remember?
Well, I grew up with my parents in spiritual leadership. I grew up with my parents as pastors. I was born into a Baptist church, actually in the city of Yonkers, and my godfather was the pastor, the reverend at the time. So I had a early introduction to the Lord. As I grew a little older, became early teens, like preteen, kind of tried my own path, so to speak, and just kind of found myself going back to what I was raised on, and just kind of seeing, hey, did I entertain this because it was what was taught to me, it was what was down to me, or is there actually something here for me? So I began to read the Bible like on my own, probably about 14 years of age. My man. We won't go into the why, but
Oh, I remember why, but we don't got to talk about it because I saw the episode.
We don't got to talk about it.
And you know what? But speaking of that, you had also mentioned that your parents made you preach in church when you were 13.
Yes.
And I like that stuck with me because in church when I was like 12, my parents used to make me. I say make me. I'm sorry, but they used to make me read from the Bible during Mass because I was born and raised Catholic. So we would go to church, and my mother would be like, "You have to do it. You're doing the work of God." I'm like, "Mom, but I don't want to. I'm shy. With so many people every Sunday morning, my stomach would be in knots, and she'd be like, "No, you have to do this. Like, this is such a beautiful blessing." I'm like, "Oh my God!" But honestly, it really wasn't that bad.
Oh, mine was awful.
But it was like. Yeah. I think that's abusive.
No, I had what they call, like in public speaking, what they call death grip, like when you hold on to the podium for dear life.
Yes.
Like I was like nervous. I think I was supposed to go like 5 or 7 minutes. I probably was up there like 90 seconds.
No.
Please don't ever ask me.
But wait, did you have to, at 13, did you have to come up with your own things to say? Like, was anybody telling you what to say? 'Cause that's young.
There was I think I was given a scripture verse and a topic, and I think I was supposed to go from there.
Okay, that's kind of like what the priests do too. Yeah.
So, but that was.
Oh gosh, that's heavy work for a 13-year-old because you got to think deeply.
I mean, it worked though. I mean, ultimately, it set the groundwork for what was going to happen.
Holy moly, that's crazy. So now when it comes to deciding, like you deciding that you wanted to be a pastor, like what led to that ultimate decision? Were there other options for you?
Life option.
Career options.
So when you say career options, you're talking about
Like, did you want to
ways
also
feed
be
my
like
family?
like, did you want to be an accountant? Did you want to be a doctor? Like, what was it?
Well,
Was there anything else?
Well, I am what they refer to as, I don't use the term too much, but they refer to it as bivocational, bivocational pastor. So I do have a 9 to 5.
Okay.
I do actually have a regular job that I work. But as far as other options, yeah, there were other things that I've wanted to do, other things that I have done. Like I said, I do have a job.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like sharing the word, there's no greater love, no greater joy that I have than that. If you gave me the opportunity to do that like 24/7, you wouldn't be able to take me away from it.
Don't. You had said something when I tapped into your what do you call it, like a Sunday? What would you describe it?
We call it, you could just say Bible study. It was Bible
Okay,
study.
actually, talk a little bit about that. Like, how did that get started? And
So I was serving in ministry with my mom for a number of years. My father and my mother launched the ministry in 1989. And my dad died in 1997. So my mother continued the work. She continued the journey in his absence. So I served with her, and when he left, I served with her. And then in about 2019, I began to feel like a real heavy tug to kind of, move forward in some things on my own. And 2020, COVID happened. So I kind of pulled back. And then in 2022, I went to speak to my mom and say, what would you think if I kind of stepped out on my own? And, what would you say? And her response was, I would say, what took you so long? So about March of 2023, we launched, it was supposed to be an in-person fellowship, believe it or not. It actually was not supposed to have any virtual or online components to it, because I already do an online session called The Word with Reem. I do it like usually every Sunday about 5 p.m. But the in-person presence, it didn't happen. And people who were in other states said, hey, if you do go forward, just let me know what you're doing. So it ended up turning to, there is an in-person presence, but primarily it's just my family, and then other people join. They join online via Zoom. How you and Fran joined. I refer to it more as an interactive Bible study. And then on first Sundays, our custom is we dedicate first Sunday specifically to prayer. But the other Sundays out of the month, we have, it's an interactive Bible study where we're going through the Word, we're going through the Bible, addressing certain scriptures and asking questions and having what I believe is healthy dialogue around it, right? How are you seeing this? How are you processing this? What do you hear when you hear this word, or when you see this verse? So as you both experience this, it's cool.
yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's hard to even like approach those type of situations, because that was my first time joining something like that. And because I think of church so differently because of how I was raised.
Yeah.
And so nobody, like you said, like the older people in my family, they're not trying to like get any different types of modes. I feel like my mother will stick to the Bible, or she'll go to church, and that's it. There's no like, I'm going to watch this on YouTube, this person talking of a different religion, of a different whatever. So they're not as open to it. And so I like that the approach was like really casual and comfortable. I didn't feel like somebody was just talking at me.
Right.
I was able to be like, oh wow, like you could talk about God with other people and no one's arguing. No one's arguing, because once you start talking about religion, then people start imposing their ideas, or they start saying, oh well, how do you really, like they start making you kind of like, they just start questioning you, or it becomes like a debate. I don't talk about religion with a lot of people they always say like religion and politics, try to keep those at bay because you don't know what you're going to stir up in people. So yeah, thank you for that. Like for creating an environment like that, you know? So in that, I wanted to ask you, because you were talking about something and you said the law of faith is the law of God. And you were explaining it, but I feel like I need you to say it again because it was a lot.
The law of faith.
The law of faith is a law of God because, and I asked that because, you know, there's that, and you guys asked it on your podcast, and I wanted to talk about it here too. How people say faith without works is dead.
Faith without works is dead. Right.
And I agree, but some people are like, well, like they have that debate, faith over hard work and like you just doing it and putting out the energy.
So there is, wow, I didn't know that this was going to come up, but we can go there.
Yes, let's do it.
So what do you want to address first? The faith without works is dead, or do you want to address the law of faith first?
Do the faith without works is dead first.
Okay, so
yeah.
there is a, oh man, I hate to say it this way, but it's the reality. There's a gap in understanding as to what that means when you say faith without works is dead, right? Okay, and whether or not it's faith or it's works, okay? So, man, so the conversation of faith versus works is faith in what Jesus Christ did to make us the righteousness of God, meaning there was nothing that we can ever do on our own to make us the righteousness of God. That's all what Jesus did in laying down his life for us, right? To do what is referred to as reconcile us back to the Father, right? So the word says that God was in Christ reconciling man back to himself. And how did he do that? He made him who knew no sin, which was Jesus Christ, to be sin for us. Okay. So that's faith. The contrast is works, and works is seen one of two ways. There are the works of the law, and this gets really theological and deep. Well, the works of the law, you probably know more, you know it more by the Old Testament. Like, if I live according to the traditions and the statutes and the customs and all of the rules, right, of the Old Testament, then I can be righteous. Well, we don't believe that. We believe that righteousness only comes as a result in our belief in what Jesus Christ did. So that's the faith or works part, right? Some people look at works relative to good works or kind actions, right?
Yeah.
So I can do something that's kind, and that could make me a righteous person. But the reality of it is, for you, Fran, and for you, Natalie, you can do the something that seems the most kind on the surface, but your motive is so far removed from the love of God. Like, I do what's right, but I do what's right so I can be seen, right? I want to be seen. And if we use Bible verses, Paul says it like this. He says, though I give my body to be burned, and though I give all my goods away to the poor, but if I didn't do it with the intention of God in mind, I did it so people could see, people can praise me and say, oh my God, you did this amazing. Look at what he did. He gave everything away so he could take care of the poor.
Yeah.
If that was my motive, then I'm so far from righteous.
Yeah.
Because my motive is twisted, it's confused, right? My motive is that's not God. That's not the love of God. So that's the faith and works. Most people, when they say, is it faith or is it works, what they're usually talking about is their own personal ambitions or personal goals, right? If I want a new job, I can't just sit at home and wait for a new job. I have to get up and I have to go and, apply, and I have to look, and I have to go on, different search engines to look for a job. But that's not what the Word of God is really talking about. It's actually talking about obedience to the will of God. When it talks about works, it's talking about obedience to the will of God. And it's also talking about good works. again, that are in line with obedience to the will of God from the standpoint of, if I see Fran and I call Fran my brother, right? And I see Fran is struggling. If I really have faith and I see that Fran is hungry and I don't feed Fran, if I sit there and, yo, Fran, my man, it's good to see you. God bless you. Keep it moving. But I know he hasn't eaten in 3 days. Then where's my faith at really? Am I really living out the faith that I say that I believe in? If I call him a brother in the faith and I see him broken and hungry and I don't take the time to help him, then my faith and my works, they don't align.
Oof.
You understand?
Yeah.
So when you put it in that aspect, it changes your mind. It's a complete mind shift when you talk about, is it faith or is it works?
It's the intention. That was the key word I took out of the whole thing. The intention behind it. That's good. Right?
Yeah.
I know I was a little wordy, but you asked.
No, that's good. You need to be wordy on a 100%. podcast. We need all the words for a podcast.
Now,
you're doing great.
Perfectly laid out.
Now, are we touching the law of faith?
Yes, please.
Okay.
No, let's.
No, that's cool.
No, because I feel like they're related.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why
related.
you should tie it in.
So, it's not simply the law of faith is the law of God. It's the law of faith is one of the laws of God's kingdom.
Okay.
Okay. So there is the royal law, which is the law of love, which we spoke about just a few minutes ago, right? But there's also the law of faith. And what the law of faith says is the only way that you can attain to the righteousness of God is through the righteousness of God. And it sounds like it's a play on words, like trying to be kind of tricky.
Yeah.
But that's not really what it's about. It's really saying that God made a decision for us, and that is what makes him a righteous God. Not simply his judgments, his wrath, his harshness, his discipline, but more so the love that he demonstrated toward us in giving his only begotten son. That is the basis of his righteousness. That is the basis of what makes him a righteous God. Not judgment, not hell, not condemnation, but the love that he demonstrated toward us in giving his only begotten son, right? So the only way that we can attain to the righteousness of God is through the righteousness of God. Again, that belief in what he did in giving his only begotten son. That is how we become the righteousness of God. That is the law of faith, which again goes back to, it's not according to rules and traditions and customs that people follow, and it's definitely not according to simply, you thinking you are a good person, but it's really a matter of you digging your heels into what God did for you in giving his only begotten son. That is a law in God's kingdom. In God's kingdom, how can I say? The currency of God's kingdom is righteousness. So the basis and the foundation of that currency, like the United States, our system used to be backed by gold, right? It's no longer backed by gold, but in the kingdom of God, the currency of God is righteousness, and that currency is backed by Jesus Christ laying down his life for us. The entire system is completely backed by that. How do I sell and trade on the open market of God's kingdom? I gotta have the currency of righteousness. That currency is only backed by Jesus Christ laying down his life, because that was God's will for me. I know that may be a lot.
No, that's good.
I love
You're passionate. I love it.
I told you give me this. I'm sharing it all day.
I love
it.
No, so when it comes to faith, right? How can faith help us face certain, I guess, challenges in our life where like some people may feel like, how can I have, when they get challenges, it's either one of two mindsets. It's like, well, if there really is a God, why am I going through this? Doesn't God love me? Doesn't he want me to be happy? Why am I going through this? But other people are like, no, what is the lesson I can learn from this challenge? Or they get to the deeper root of it and they don't automatically start blaming God. They try to see, what is God trying to teach me here? So I guess, how do we use faith, or like, what is your opinion on that, basically?
So my first question is, how are you defining faith?
Okay.
Right? Because that's huge. And I've learned that, especially when you're dealing with different denominations, people use the word faith interchangeably. They use it at random, right? So I can say faith and I mean something, and you can say faith and you mean something completely different.
Okay, so how do you define faith?
Great question.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you asked.
Yeah.
No. So for me, at the simplest, purest version of faith, the way that I define faith is a belief in a hope. Okay. A belief and a hope. So that requires two things. It requires that I first have a belief, right? And it also requires that I have a hope. Now, when we...
Oh, and do those two things need to be the same? Does your belief need to be in alignment with your hope?
Your belief needs to be in alignment with your hope, but your belief does not necessarily need to be your hope. But they do need to be in alignment.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were asking, how do we, and correct me if I'm wrong, bring me back, how do we help people? Or like, what would I say to people?
What would you say to people who are, I guess, struggling with having faith during challenging times?
Okay, so this is what I've learned. And I mean, man, like it's so simple, but it's so powerful.
Talk about it.
Yeah, what I've learned is that challenges, whether they are you experiencing the challenge or you're watching someone else experience a challenge, this is what I've concluded. A challenge is only an opportunity to either receive the love of God or to demonstrate it into someone else's life. When you really see it from that aspect, it doesn't feel so burdensome anymore, right? When you really look at a challenge and go, oh, snap, this is an area of my life where I've not received the fullness of God's love for me, right? What do I need to do? What do I need to relinquish? What do I need to give up? What do I need to move on from? Who do I need to connect with? Who do I need to forgive, right? Who do I need to apologize to in order for God's love to be seen in my life in this particular area, right? If you approach a challenge from that aspect, or if someone is experiencing a challenge, what do I need to do to demonstrate the love of God in this person's life? If you approach your challenges from that aspect, or approach helping someone else with their challenges from that aspect, it doesn't feel burdensome. But when people become burdened by challenges, it is because they have usually shifted their mind to the now and the challenge, and not to the hope of expectation of what is before them. You understand what I'm saying? So if I focus on the now, the immediate, I become consumed. I become consumed with the challenge. But if I keep my mind set on the hope and the expectation that lies ahead of me, then the challenge doesn't seem as burdensome.
Yeah.
What if it's like an illness, like an illness where you're gonna die? Things like that is what it's like why? If it's somebody young, especially, that's the question that people usually have. I understand it, but is there a way for you to explain it?
I would still say, Fran, that it comes down to your hope, right? And this is hard to say, man, but the truth is, and I really don't want to say it, but I have to say it. Whether you live 5 years, 50 years, or 95 years, we're not born to stay here forever. We're not, right? And usually the challenge becomes burdensome when you become consumed with the cares of this life. There are people, man, who have made their peace in the hope that there is something that is so far beyond what this life, this physical body will ever hold for them. they've made their peace with that, and they are comfortable to just move and transition out of this life into the next that God has for them. They're okay.
It's kind of like, this is what it is mindset, right?
Well,
It's not purposely done. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not being, nothing like that. It's not God punishing or anything like that. It's just, this is what happened with my physical life.
This is what happened.
My physical body got this illness. God didn't punish me. I didn't do anything wrong. It's just, this is what this body that I was given goes through. This is what it's going through.
And also, again, remember, their hope is not simply limited into what is going to happen in the here and the now. I believe that is what limits us. That's what frustrates us. That's what confounds us to succumbing to burdens and stress and the pressures of this life, when we are so fixed on the here and the now. It is not to say that you're not human and you don't deal with it and you don't address it, but you cannot be consumed by it. Because when you're consumed by it, you're already defeated.
Yeah.
When you have a hope, even in the midst of people, and I've seen it, friend, I've seen it, even in the midst of people transitioning out of this life, when they are not consumed with the here and the now and the moment, they're still giving out the love of God. They're still feeding people as they transition out of this life, because they have a hope that goes beyond anything that this physical body could ever give to them. They have a hope beyond that. So when they see the challenge that they're experiencing, they've received the love of God for their own life, because they still have a hope, and they're still able to get that love out.
Yeah. So this actually brings me to something that I read, and we're going to get into now the topic of worry. Okay. So the guy, he's a Buddhist monk, and he gets invited to different churches to speak. So he'll go, and he'll always start with a question, and he'll say, "How many of you believe in God?" And everyone raises their hands. And then he'll say, "Now, how many of you worry?" And they all raise their hands, but they laugh because they know where he's getting at. He's like, you either believe in God or you worry, but you can't do both. Because worrying means that God has somehow dropped the ball on something. And if you truly believe in God, then you know he's not dropping the ball on anything. So I wanted your take on that.
Do I think God is dropping the ball?
No, absolutely not.
Do I think God is dropping the ball?
Do you? No. I mean, what is your take on worry? Do you believe in that?
I understand the context of what he's saying. I understand where he's going with it, but I believe that for some, not for all, there are stages in growth and maturing in your walk and in your journey with the Lord. And sometimes you can be a person who worries and not even realize you are a person who worries.
Of course.
So you can have a genuine love for the Lord. You can really believe in the Lord, and until you submit yourself and until you mature to the place of seeing, I have an issue with worrying. You may not even deal with it. You may not even give it over to the Lord. So do I believe that they can, really, really coexist? Like, I can really believe in the Lord and I can worry. I don't think that you can, if you are mature in your faith, that you will worry. But I do believe that you can believe in God and there still be a level of worry because you have not matured to that point as of yet where you're ready, or you're ready to relinquish it and let it go.
Oh man. Okay. Because I was gonna ask, do you think they can coexist? But do you believe people can ever really let it go, even with maturity? I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me give you guys an example of this topic. My mother worries about everything, especially she has 3 kids and grandkids. So she always worries if, we're driving safe, if we're eating, if we're sleeping right, if we're healthy, if we're seeing the doctor, all the above.
Right.
So I've been trying to help her see things differently. Like, we're adults, we're good, worry less, we're parents now.
Right.
We got it. You did your job. You did amazing. We're smart enough. We can do this and we can get by. You need to worry less. You really need to worry less. her worry all day is, are we okay? Are we okay? Are we okay? Are we okay? So she's religious. She's very religious. She prays all day. She's always worrying and praying. So I told her once, it annoys me that it actually affects her, that she's so worried all the time. So I told her, you think God wants you to worry? This is actually you thinking in a negative way.
Yeah.
You're thinking worst case scenario.
Right.
I tell you I'm driving home, you worry I'm going to get into a car accident. God doesn't want you to think so negatively. God doesn't want you to worry. You think God wants this for you? I don't remember her reaction or her response, but she understood it that way. Absolutely. You know, it's hard for me to get through to her sometimes because I'm her youngest. Mm-hmm. Why would she listen to me? She's supposed to be dropping wisdom on me. So it's hard for me to get through to her with something I feel she can benefit from. But when I throw God in, I think she realized it. All right.
Yeah, throw God in.
Yeah, you know.
My mom throws God into everything.
Yeah, right? You might as well throw the card right back.
I'm doing it back.
Nah, man, that makes sense, friend. That's perfect sense, man.
Yeah.
You're right, man. You're putting so much negativity in there, and I don't think we've come to terms with that yet. You got to trust God, man. Like you got to trust Him. But again, that's the level of maturing that you got to come to. And when I say maturing, I don't necessarily mean your biological age. I just mean there's stages.
Oh, of course, I know.
That you go through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. I understand.
Same when I tell you, man. She received exactly what you said.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she knows when I'm. She knows I'm seriously speaking to her when it's something like that. When I'm worrying about her or worrying, so I know she's listening. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Yeah.
Because you're from Yonkers, especially, I want to ask you about DMX, because everybody knows he had demons, but he was so in depth with his relationship with God. Okay. To some people, they can't even believe that he's religious or, that in depth with the relationship with God because of all his demons. How do you feel about that? Can you really, because to me, he was 100% both. He was riding with his demons and he was 100% riding with God. Can you do both? How do you feel about that?
See, my experiences with X were all positive. So I can't speak to what a lot of people speak to. And a lot of people speak to it from a place of hearsay, right? And also they speak to it from the place of what they saw on stage, right? They saw his persona of DMX, the dark man, right? They saw that persona. There was also a side to him that was just, I knew X before I knew that he was X.
Wow.
No, seriously.
I like that. Let's get into it.
Before I knew, this is DMX. Like I knew him and didn't know that was X, man. So like I said, I can't sit here and talk about his demons because I never experienced his demons. You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't mean what you have experienced. We all know, especially if you're from Yonkers, he walked right along with God. But, just his bad record, prison, drugs, etc. That's what I mean by the demons. He did those things, but he was always riding with God. That's what I mean. It's like a fine line, but he rode both. What do you think about that? That's what I mean.
When you say he rode both, then that means I have to agree with his demons.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
And I can't agree with my encounters with him were only positive.
Of course. I definitely understand.
Like, I don't know I didn't experience the X that people see or people talk about from such a harsh place.
People see on the news and hear in the tabloids.
I didn't experience
that stuff. I understand.
Of course I was around him, in regards to music. I've been in the studio, with X.
Nice.
Rhyming, you know what I'm saying? I've been on the street corners with X, but he was never a foul person.
Oh, of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Showed love, man. So
he was walking love.
Yeah, he always showed me love, man. So I can't speak to his negative aspects, so to speak. But in regards to it's a matter of how far you want to take his music, man. So some of his music was dark.
Of course.
Excuse me. But then, you have stuff like the prayers and the prayers.
Of course.
You know, he dropped a prayer in a stadium and everybody's quiet. Tears are shedded, you know what I'm saying? And you can't deny that.
100%. 100%.
In regards to his relationship with the Lord, I wouldn't judge that.
100%.
I didn't pastor him. I didn't mentor him, you know what I'm saying? And he was older than me. So I wouldn't judge his relationship with the Lord, man. If I had an opportunity to minister to him or to share some things with him, would I have? Yes, absolutely. I definitely would have. But yeah, that's why I leave that.
Yeah, he's godly. Everything about him is love. 100%.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you about marriage from a biblical standpoint. Because I feel like because you know, now I feel like a lot of people now, let's just break it down right now, what's going on in society. People are not getting married like before. They have I feel like they have very skewed views of what marriage is, the meaning behind it, the beauty of it. Everything is, well, what are you going to do for me? You know, what are you going to do for me? If I decide to commit to you, like, what do you bring to the table? Which I feel like there are some good, like, realistic questions to ask.
Sure. Absolutely.
But I wasn't raised in that type of world. Like, everybody would say, oh, like me, I call myself a hopeful romantic, not a hopeless romantic. But I feel like love is beautiful, and I believe in the fairy tale, and I believe that things are going to get hard, but like with love, you guys can make it work. But that's because my parents instilled that for me. Like my parents have been married for now 44 years. And they are still very much in love, like holding hands, going out, listening to music. Their weekends are lit, more lit than mine. No, for real. Like, even though they're home, they're like watching TV, they're drinking wine. My mother's making margaritas for my dad. Like, it's so cute. And that's what I believe when it comes to marriage. So I guess I wanted your opinion on, like, not even your opinion, but just from what you know from the Bible. What do you think are the true roles in a marriage then? What is the role of a husband, a real husband and a real wife? What does that mean? Yeah, we going deep.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go. I could go there.
Yeah.
The primary role of a husband is to show his wife what it means to love God.
Talk about it. I love that.
That's the primary role.
I love that.
And what does it look like, and what does it mean for us to love God in this season, right? What does that look like? What does that mean? What role are we taking? That's the real role of a husband. Going back, if we tapping into the Bible, going back to Genesis, that was his role. Unfortunately, he failed in that. But moving forward, that when we look at, because the best example of the husband is not to look at any biblical figure, so to speak, or person in the Bible other than Christ. And what Christ does is he shows us what is necessary to love God, right? Because the church is the bride of Christ. We are his bride. And that is ultimately what he is doing for us. He is teaching us and showing us and demonstrating what is necessary for us to love God season by season, step by step. So if I'm going to be a real husband, then ultimately I have to pattern me being a husband after what Christ did.
Okay.
So my role as a husband primarily is to show my wife what does it look like for us to love God.
And now what is the wife's role?
To support that.
Okay.
To nurture that, to pray for it, to pray in it, to pray through it, to lock arms with me in that and help me push that vision forward. That is her real role and responsibility. That is my real role and responsibility. And when we do that, it's not about what I can get from her or what she can get from me. It's about, this is what we are doing
together.
Right? So that completely changes the dynamic right there. And her honoring, she has to honor that is my role. And I want to be very careful, because some people may hear this podcast and say, yo, he's sexist, or, he's...
Oh, no, I'm not getting that. But I understand.
I hope they didn't take that from that.
Y'all are not...
Those are, for me, I think that's very close-minded. If you got that from that,
Some people will, though.
So they will. Yeah, they will.
I can say that.
And try to run with it.
Well, I did have a follow-up question. That's kind of like, yeah.
Follow-up question.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that she has no voice and no input. Right? That's not what that means. But what it does mean is, as the husband, when I take this woman into my life as my wife, that is my role and my responsibility. It doesn't mean that I don't listen to her. She's not voiceless. It just means that I am primarily responsible for that, right? And again, her role is to honor that and to support that and to pray in that, with that, through that, and to help us push ahead in that journey.
So how do you feel then, okay, I'm not going to water it down, but people look at, so people look at that like, they look at it the other way, but similar. Like, I see similarities in what you're saying, but they look at it like, all right, so then the woman, practical ways. The woman, she will stay home and raise the children. And the man is the leader, and he has to be the one to financially provide. But in our society now, people, it's more common that the woman is also going to be working just as much as the man is, because everything is expensive. And so she may not be able to always cook every night for dinner, or she may not always be the one watching the kids. Maybe you would have to go home and watch the kids. So like, they're looking at it like that. So with what you're saying, though, it makes sense. It's like a more traditional way. If we're putting it out like every day, how would that be demonstrated? Does that make sense?
I don't fully understand, and I want to be.
I think you mean the daily roles.
The daily roles
of a married
like, how
couple.
does the biblical, I guess, coincide with the daily roles? Because it sounds like
that says she has to cook dinner and she has to.
That's what I'm saying. But people feel like that's the role of a wife.
Yeah, that's not in the Bible, though.
Right.
Yeah, there's nowhere in the Bible that says she's gonna cook the dinner, she's gonna do the dishes, she's gonna do.
So where are we getting that from?
Yeah,
that's my thing.
That's not biblical.
That's my thing.
That's
not
biblical.
biblical.
Bible where it says
no, it's
she has
not.
to wash
But
the
people,
dishes.
they would see it that way. Like, I don't know how to explain it. But you know what I'm trying to say.
Of course, because I think I don't know when this started, but in a traditional home, the mother is home with the kids, raising the kids,
Supporting
and the
husband.
and the
while
father's
he's-
So she's taking care of the household and the kids while he's making money. That's like back in the day before both had to work. That's what it is. It came from back then, whenever that started.
So I guess my question is, how do you still have like the biblical way of looking at it, and how does that reflect in today's world, in the modern marriage, I would say?
Let me try to answer that, even though I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
I appreciate your cans, right?
No, go ahead.
So now that I'm learning more about God, I'm seeing marriage in a different way. Marriage, if both partners,
you got to visit that though. You got to walk us through that, because you're saying it a different way.
What do you mean?
Yeah. So how did you view it before?
Yeah, how did you view it before? So you got to give us that marriage.
Yeah. How did you view it before?
Just everybody's out here winging it. You meet somebody, you might get along, you get married and see what happens, or you accidentally get pregnant and you get married and you just continue living. It's just relationships. But lately, I've been thinking about how to really find and narrow down that person. And at the core, because you have to really come down to the core of people's morals and lifestyle or whatever. And if the core of both of your entire lives is God,
Friend, you're going deep, my dude. Like,
Where you gonna go from there?
like, yo.
Don't leave me hanging now.
Nah, my God, like yo, you dropped the gym on us. Talk about it.
No, that was good. Oh
This is-
shit,
oh,
the mic came down. And
Mike is like, oh.
Mic drop. That's
Mic drop.
Mic drop right there.
The mic dropped on his own. It just started melting. So you got what I meant, then?
Yeah.
All right,
Nah, go ahead. You gotta
yeah.
finish that. Though.
I don't even know if I have any more to say.
No, you were
That's-
answering the question that I had.
That's
asked.
pretty much it, though. That's pretty much it.
before.
Like,
Yeah, I have the foundation and
that's really what a real relationship is. It's not none of the
Like,
traditions
everything
that
would
we've been
just flow
brainwashed
from
with.
there. Honestly,
The woman could be working and the guy could be at home taking care of the kids. There's no roles when the core is God. It's just, come on.
Dang, Fred, you dropped the
no, that was good. That was good.
jewels on us just now, man. My God.
Bro, I've been seeing life different.
Yeah, now I'm gonna go out on a limb, and whoever holds it against me, they hold it against me. I'm cool. I don't have anything to lose. My wife loves me for the man that I am. My wife is more she's more handy around the house than I am. Like she can fix something way
Okay.
before I can, right?
Does she not work? Because maybe if she's around the house more, then it just makes sense,
Nah,
right?
she works.
Oh, so she's just superwoman.
She works.
She does it
but
all.
she's
That's great.
She's more handy with tools. I am so afraid to break something because I feel like if I break it, I'm gonna have to pay for it. But she will watch something on YouTube and be like, "All right, cool. This is how you do this."
Okay, go get her.
Yeah, she
I like
she's
it.
about that life, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not wired that way, right? And it takes nothing away from my manhood.
Right.
It takes nothing away from her womanhood, right? But one, and I gotta put this out there though. One day, you know, I cut the grass, and she's like, "Oh, you move so slow. This takes so long to cut the grass." So I say, "You know what? You want to take a shot at it? Go ahead." So she gets out there. I could do a better job than you. You go right on ahead. You help yourself. One time, honey, you can have it. I understand why it takes you. You do a great job.
Yep.
I don't ever have to try to do this again. I'm so sorry of anything that I ever said.
That's me too. I'm the same
So,
way.
you know. So you
I could do it better than you. Come on, like you going mad slow. And then I'm like, oh no, I'll stop. She finished it because I would have stopped halfway.
I don't even remember what.
I would have
I thought
stopped.
she never did it again though.
I would have taken it out like, never mind. I'm good. You want me to make you a sandwich? Like,
Wow.
Never did it again.
Wow.
You know, and that's not a role thing. That's where do you add the most value thing?
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like where are you adding the value at in the home? Right? There's some men who they cook their wives under tables. They ain't got it like that. The husband, and he's not a chef, he's just a better cook. And if you want to enjoy your meals, let that man be the better cook.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we
100%.
want to enjoy dinner. We want to enjoy when we sit down for breakfast, when we eat. If that man outshines you in that area,
Let him shine. Let him shine.
that's how to
Shine.
that's and I'm not opposed to the traditional view, but don't let the traditional view make you ignorant to your own reality. Don't be that person, right? Because if your wife can't cook and you can cook, get in that kitchen and cook. Now, if she can do some chopping and help move that
Of
process,
course. Yeah.
that's what she should be doing. But again, don't allow the traditional view to make you ignorant, man. That's what I say.
I love that.
Let it make it ignorant
I love
to
that.
your own reality.
I love that. I do have one more question. So I wanted to talk about something that I said even when I tuned in, and I had said, because you said something during the, what do you call it? Like not a sermon, but like during the Zoom.
You say the session,
During the
service,
session,
just
boom.
doing the study.
So during the session, you were saying how when you read the word, sometimes it's hard for you to connect if you have a lot of baggage, right? If you're coming into it with your anxiety, your worries, your stress. I think that's something that's been very common for me lately. Reading, my prayer book, trying to tap in. Again, I don't have my mother down my throat like I did when I was younger, kind of always like feeding me like Bible scriptures and telling me things. So now it's up to me to kind of do that work on my own. And you get lost. I get lost in it. And I'm not really absorbing everything that I'm reading. So I wanted you to kind of just give some advice to anybody else who may be going through that. They're trying to connect, but they're having a hard time because of everything else they're experiencing.
So what I was saying, and I actually had this conversation with somebody the other day. The Bible takes over 42 generations to unfold. Mm-hmm. Not 42 years. I want you to process this. Not 42 years. 42 generations. It's longer than that, but that's a given time frame in the Bible. It takes longer than 42 generations to unfold. And if you think you're going to have a full grasp or understanding of something that you sit down and read one time or in the course of a 365-day period, if you think you're going to get up from reading this book of life and you're going to walk away with a complete understanding, you've already defeated yourself. You've lied to yourself. So you've set yourself up for failure. So when you get up and you go, oh, I walked away with nothing, I got nothing, you've already programmed in your mind that you were going to get nothing, right? Because you've attempted to tackle something again in 42 minutes that it's taken over 42 generations to unravel and to unfold. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's first. Second, I would say get in position, same when you did, get around somebody who's learned, who has studied, and not just from a place of intellect and head knowledge, not just being astute and theological, someone who has a genuine love for the word to share it with people to help them grow. That's what I'm doing, right? I'm not just trying to give you good information. I want you to be able to go into the book and have some understanding, right? Because if you can get understanding for yourself, you're going to come out with way more. You're going to see way more value. Man, there's so much more that I want to say, but I'll leave it right there.
So basically join his services because they can get it from you, honestly. Like you are that person.
I'm not opposed to anybody joining, to anybody checking in. I can honestly say we've been going since March of 2023, and we are enjoying the journey. Mm-hmm. Like we really are enjoying the journey. Like Fran came in, he just was like, listen, I'm going to check you out. He was a man of his word. He stayed true to his word. He checked in. But matter of fact, Fran, I don't even know if I asked you, what made you hit Natalie up that day?
Because she was asking me a bunch of questions about you preparing for this podcast. Mm-hmm. So I was like, what better way for her to really know and understand who you are before you even come on than to see you doing what you do?
Yeah. I really appreciated that too, because I got more questions from there, like more things to ask you.
That was huge on your part.
It was connection.
It just made sense.
Yeah,
it just made sense. Everybody got access to Zoom.
Yeah.
We're like you can see, like you said, it's not contentious, it's not disrespectful, mm-hmm. It's not combative. Mm-hmm. It's healthy, and we're not. I'm not entertaining crazy. Like I'm not letting people just come on and say whatever. You say whatever you want to say and think that I'm gonna be okay with it.
Yeah.
I do want to hear if people are genuine and sharing. I want to hear perspectives, man. Mm-hmm. It's how we grow. It's how we build one another up, especially in the faith.
Do you feel like sometimes the services could get a little like a therapy session? Has that ever happened? Do people like vent and start like getting personal?
People have shared personal things, mm-hmm. but I don't think to date, mm-hmm. no one has been extreme in their sharing mm-hmm. where it's like, this has absolutely
nothing to do. Oh, yeah.
No one has done that.
Yeah.
But I've heard people do that before in church, mm-hmm. and I'm just sat there looking like, is anybody going to sit this person down? Like, is anybody going to tell them, like, like you ran out of time?
It's a lot.
Keep sitting there letting them talk.
Yeah.
Nah, but no, to date, no one has done that.
Okay. Yeah. I asked because I'm like, that might be me. I might get on there when they're like, I'm going through it. Give me a word. Like, Because I could see myself doing that sometimes. Because sometimes you just need to let it out. But now that I know, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, no one has done that. You might, if you
Tone it down a bit.
Yeah, you might be the first.
I'll be like, who let her on?
Friends.
Weirdos. Bringing the weirdos.
No, you're good.
Not for real. But all right, so that's all I have for you. This was great. Thank you so much. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, this wasn't as tough as I thought it was.
No,
we're chill.
We're chill.
Not tough
Is there
at all.
anything you want to like say? Any last thoughts, words, a message you want to leave the people with?
Yeah, man. If you were interested in growing in your faith, you always welcome to join me. But I'm not trying to promote what I'm doing, man. Get yourself attached to somebody who has a love for God's word, and in conjunction with a love for God's word has a love for God's people. You know, that's my admonishment. You know, get yourself in a position where you can be fed, you can be challenged, you can tap in, and you can grow in a healthy place. So, yeah, if people want to find me, you can find me. I'm on YouTube and Facebook Live Sundays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do a segment called The Word with Reem.
What's the name of the YouTube channel?
Virtuous Streams.
Virtuous Dreams?
Streams.
Virtuous Streams.
Virtuous
Okay.
Streams. My segment is The Word with Reem. I don't even know how to tell people to connect with us for the
Instagram? Oh, Zoom.
Yeah, how do they get to it? From Facebook? Do you have the link in your Facebook?
The link is not up anywhere.
You got to start
You
promoting
need to put that. Yeah, you need to put that in your Instagram bio.
I've wanted. It's my baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really. I tell my wife, like, you know, it's our fourth child. So I don't put it out publicly, you know, because I want people who participate to actually have an interest to come and participate, because it really has become a safe haven. Excuse me. It really has become a safe haven for those who participate.
But if you put the link, people can decide that they want to click it and join anyway.
Nah, but it's still more personal to him. That's what it is.
I get
Because
it.
you put it on your bio, anybody could click it.
Well, yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
But yeah, just
I have to get.
It could be like a vetting process before and something. You could figure that out.
I have to get.
You could figure that out.
maybe they could start through the word with Reem, is it?
Some people do the word with Reem.
Start with there, and then then you could offer it to whoever.
Yeah, promote
really
those
wants
more.
to.
Promote the YouTube channel more. Because anybody can watch that. That's fine. Yeah, and then it'll grow from there.
If you want to connect with me on Instagram, it's the word with Reem. I believe the number 2. It's the word with Reem 2. If you want to connect with me on Facebook, it's my name, Kareem Dorsey. And I think that's the only places I'm plugged at in, like, is to Instagram and the Facebook. I think I have do people still do Twitter?
Yeah, they do. It's called
of
X
course.
now.
It's called X now?
Yeah.
I have one of those accounts. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is, though, because I don't use it.
Yeah, they changed the name to X.
Let's not promote that one, man.
Yeah, let's don't promote that one.
Yeah,
no.
That's a good idea.
No, well, you can send me all that info, DM it, and then I can add it,
Okay.
and people will have it. You, sir, any last minute words? Thank you again for coming and helping.
My pleasure. Anytime I could talk to you, I'm down. Always good conversation.
Yeah, you're great.
Last words. This is it.
I was gonna say, this is it. This is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Peace.
So you can't support something that's positive, something that's uplifting people, empowering people,